Yeah, recording. Okay. Dennis, are you able to hear us? Just unmute him. Okay, good. Thumbs up. Okay.
Oh, sorry. You need to go back there.
Oh, yeah. I never, this is the part I never know which one.
Oh, you have multiple. I guess they didn't register. I guess they didn't register. You might have to move it. Okay.
So just enjoy your breakfast. I'm just going to give a brief update on what we'll be talking about today. You have your agendas on your seats. So today we're talking about transitioning for stability and success. And today we celebrate businesses in all forms, whether you're a one-person business, nonprofit, for-profit, partnership, we celebrate all business. And today we'll also talk about how businesses have successfully pivoted during the pandemic. A look at what's worked and why, and the new practices that they're using, challenges, restrictions, and interruptions, major changes in supply chain, recovered lost revenues, lessons learned, so we'll reflect, adapt, and get better, and how to use downtime to build for our future. So I'd like to introduce our board of directors. John's not here today, gives his regrets. We've heard Carol, she's our vice president. If you're here in the room, if you could just stand so people could get to know you. Amber Frey is our treasurer. Carol Ravinsky. Monique Horn is our secretary. I don't think she's here. Dennis Bland, directors. Paul Arsenault, regrets. Norma Jean Griffin, I see her here. Leah McGrath, gave her regrets. Melissa Heald is not here. Dan McDonald, did he make it this morning? No, okay. And Joffrey Irving, back. Emerson McMillan, and Edward Kenny. So thank you, board of directors, for all you do and all your volunteer time with the West Prince Chamber. Much appreciated. We are at 224 chamber members, so we've kind of stayed at this for the last couple of years. We have lost 20 members or more, but we've gained new members. So new businesses are going to continue to open, so that's a good thing. There might be a few in there that we're trying to collect, but and that's been a challenge. I don't know who else here struggles with accounts receivable, but I do. So thank you, members. For anyone that's new here or is not familiar with the chamber, our purpose is to be a leader that advocates for and promotes success in our business community. And we have your best interests, our members, and we're here to work with you in your needs and what you need to do business. So through our events, we always offer networking opportunities through our events, through our breakfast mixers, and hopefully this year we'll get back to our Business Awards Gala, which is one of our big signature events. And there's just some pictures here. We also do a golf fundraiser in the fall, and we try and do breakfast mixers and after hours mixers too throughout the year. This year we're also doing the Love Local campaign. Last year you've probably seen it with some of the Love Local masks that we had, and so again we'll be doing that this year, and if they're to support local businesses and getting people to support locally. So you all have some bags from the Love Local campaign, so you can enjoy those. They're on your seat. And we always try and welcome our new members in and promote them the best we can. We have a couple of new members here today, and maybe I'll just kind of maybe a hand if they want to raise their hand or stand up. We have Jeanette McClellan. She's at the back table, and this is Jeanette's. She has the gift shop, which is across from the Richmond Esso. So you know how you're always looking right when you're driving by. Well, look to the left, and you'll see the gift shop, and it's a beautiful little shop. and she has these lovely baskets, and she brought one at the back here. You can go take a look, and these baskets are set up for any type of gifts. You can use them for birthday, Christmas, and she's put all the thought and the detail into it. So if you're scrambling for a gift and you don't know what to do, she has these lovely gift baskets down there all ready to go and packaged up. So please drop in and see Jeanette and support them. Thank you for coming, Jeanette. Have a good one. Oh, sorry. Oh. We continue to promote our members, and I'd like to thank Lisa Darash, I was going to say Edmund, Lisa Darash, Lisa Edmund Photography. She's here taking some pictures today, and she's a great photographer. And so we always try and continue to promote our members. We have Renee's here from Jackson Naturals, and I think June Ellis is in the back, and they all have some displays set up. So please take a look on your way out or throughout the morning. And did Heidi Slade make it here this morning? Heidi? You didn't see her, okay. So Heidi's one of our newcomers. She set up business in the Future Tech building in O'Leary. And it's called Accelerated Training Services. And what it is she'll help you get to know the Asian market if you're doing business in Asia. So Heidi lives in Somerset, but she's doing business in O'Leary. So. And of course, we always try to do our best at communicating and advocating your needs. And we have Kester Nurse, who is working on the Rural Labor Market Project. And we're busy at our podcast. And again, we have our monthly newsletters that we try and stay in touch with throughout the year. We also have a number of member benefit programs. We have our chamber group insurance plan and the ESSO savings, which is for a fleet, first data, merchant, debit machines, payroll services, flagship, which is combined freight services, and export document services program. And you can find more detail on our website. We also have our business-to-business discounts. So these are discounts that we offer to each of our members, or members offer within the chamber. And we have a new one this year, and we can thank HMS. So Pierre Goyant has been one of our guests here today. And as of this week, he's offering a discount to all chamber members, 25% off your first order, and then 10% savings after that. And so there are some things that it does apply to, and they're celebrating 40 years. So thank you for doing this, Pierre. We go through a lot of office supplies, so we appreciate that discount. And you probably received your discount cards in the mail, and if you haven't, just reach out to us. Most places will ask you if you're a chamber member, so your fees have to be paid up to take advantage of those. And if you're still not sure what chamber does, you can go on our podcast. We have one entitled "What Does Chamber Do?" And you can listen to that. So we're always looking for ideas for a podcast or for guests. If anyone is interested in finding out more, we kind of started that throughout the Rural Labor Market Partnership. And it was a way for us to kind of communicate when we couldn't during the pandemic, and we hope we can continue to do this. So without anything further, we'll introduce our guest panel. I'll have Joffrey come up to introduce our guest panel. Is everybody pretty much done eating? Okay. So as you're introduced, you can just come up, and we'll have a seat for you up front.
Morning. Our first panelist is Kevin Porter. Kevin began his work with Community Inclusions in June of 2001, June 11th to be exact. Prior to this, he was a youth employment counselor for a couple of years. And prior to that, he worked with youth aged 18 to 30 with a program called Youth Opportunities in a number of managerial roles in 1998. Kevin graduated from UPEI in 1993 with a Bachelor of Arts with a major in psychology. In 1998, he became a certified life skills coach through Holland College. has a number of business-related courses. He has a number of business-related courses. Completed the business management program for university and college grads through the former Western Development Corporation in 1994. Kevin always enjoys working with and for people and being in leadership roles while doing this. Away from work, Kevin has enjoyed coaching hockey and soccer over the last 20 years. He lives in West Devon with his wife, Jill. They have 3 adult children. In his spare time, he enjoys writing and listening to music. First panelist, Kevin Porter. Our second panelist is Katie Smallman. We the West is a licensed early years center in Bloomfield Corner, owned and operated by Katie Smallman. Katie graduated from 3 Oaks Senior High in Summerside in 2011 and had a clear sight of what she wanted to focus on next. She headed straight to Holland College, Prince of Wales campus in Charlottetown, and took the Early Childhood Care and Education program. Following that, she received a Bachelor of Child and Family Studies at UPI in 2016. In 2014, Katie was diagnosed with a memory disorder. It was a reminder for her to work hard, be passionate and kind, and to remember that we are all human. Something she embraces at We the West Center each day with her child-led, play-based curriculum. Katie's favorite part of working in childcare is the fulfillment of achievements, knowing that she's contributing to the growth of children that are in our care that will be running our world in the next 20 to 25 years. Katie would like to thank Maxine Rennie and the team at CBDC for her financial support and would highly recommend anyone who's needing financial support to reach out to them. The second panelist is Katie Smallman. Third panelist is Pierre Glantz. Pierre started off studying IT, moving to New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, but in 2002 quickly made the change back to his family business, HMS Office Supplies. From there, he worked every position except bookkeeper. In 2013, Pierre and his father Henry began a 5-year succession plan where Pierre began planning for growth and a new structure. And in March 2018, officially took over the business. Office Solutions have been a passion of Pierre's, where HMS currently leads the nation in sales per population in office furniture. And he has been selected numerous times as a finalist for Dealer of the Year within the Hamster Group, consisting of 110 stores across Canada. HMS will be opening a second location in downtown Charlottetown next month. And Pierre has been looking at neighboring provinces closely as well. Why does he get up every day? He loves the feeling of satisfaction when he wins a bid, answers a customer's needs, or sees products in a local business. Our third panelist is Pierre Glantz. Fourth panelist is Dennis Hubert. Dennis Hubert, lead pastor at the O'Leary Nazarene Church, chief soap maker at By the Sea Soap Shop. By the Sea Soap Shop offer handmade soap from natural products. Most include essential oils. These soaps are soft on the skin and lather well with absolutely no harsh chemicals or harmful dyes, leaving a fresh, clean feeling. For those of you who are missing West Isle Craft Fair this year, don't fear, they have gone online. Go to online West Isle Christmas Market 2021 to find their soaps, plus a whole lot of other crafts. Please check it out. Dennis and Teresa spent 25 years of business in Mississauga, Ontario, running a carpet cleaning and flood and fire restoration business. It seems like he has been in cleaning business forever. As an experienced lead pastor, Dennis has demonstrated a history of working in the nonprofit organization management industry, skilled in nonprofit organizations, Bible coaching, discipleship, and church consulting, strong community and social services professional graduate from NDC. Our last panelist, fourth panelist, is Dennis Hubert.
Dennis, can you hear us?
Loud and clear.
I'm just going to turn it up a little bit.
All right.
Okay, can you try that again?
Loud and clear.
All right, can everybody hear him at the back? All right, perfect. And he has his wife Teresa with him. All right, Kester. Kester's going to be our facilitator this morning. Heidi, thank you for joining us. I'll get you a breakfast there, okay?
Hey, good morning and happy Small Business Week. It's great to be here as part of the joint labor market project in collaboration with the Eastern Chamber. I work and facilitate the project in the West with the Western Chamber, obviously. Good morning and welcome to our esteemed panelists. Thanks for joining us to give your personal and business opinion on some of the things that are going to take us through these unprecedented times as we transition for stability and success. Seems as though we started off, and I've been to a lot of these breakfast mixers before, where we had a mood that was a little bit more lively. We're celebrating Small Business Week. We in this room have proven that the pandemic didn't beat us because we came out, we're doing business, and we got a panel of people who are gonna give us some input on how we've overcome this. So I think that's the vibe that we need to get onto now. Is we're here and we're gonna kick it, right? We're gonna kick Small Business Week. This is a celebratory week. Yeah, I think so. And it's great that the chamber is able to facilitate things like this so that our members understand. I think one of the things that is great about these is that when you come here, you realize you're not the only guy fighting that battle. You know what I mean? You're not the only gal that's out there struggling to see what the new trends are or what the new procedures are to overcome a pandemic or any business problem for that matter. And I think when we come here for chamber meetings, that's what we get to discuss. That's what we get to feed off of one another is how did we get through? Like, how was your week, bro? How did we get through this? How do we in our rural area project and continue to succeed in what we do? With that being said, I'm going to prompt some responses from our panelists to see what their experiences were. And most of you probably had similar experiences, I'm imagining. And what we hope to achieve by our little part here today is by having our team be transitioning for stability and success. We've started to look forward. We've transitioned. We are transitioning. We're trying to get out of that deadbeat mold where everybody's, oh, we're in a pandemic. We want to know how we're going forward now because we have members who have been going forward, who have been staying in business and who have been finding solutions. So I'm going to prompt you guys a little bit, and then we're going to take a few questions from the audience as well. And if you guys have any further clarifications that you need, you can just raise your hand and we'll see if we can get these guys to help us out with how we transition for stability and success.
Testing.
Yeah, good. So I won't point, but if you feel that you are ready to give us an answer, I'll just leave it up to any of you if any of the questions especially hit home, right? So like if anything really hits, if you want to give an answer, the mic's there for you to grab. So obviously one of the main basic questions out here is throughout this past 18-month period, have you had to change the way you do business? That's just a general one. So if anybody wants to just grab the mic and say, respond, yeah, have you had to change business? Okay, looks like he wants to go. Let's go.
I have to go first. The simple thing is yes, absolutely. It was a huge change.
I'm just gonna prompt it into that there. So you've had to change business. You're in what type of business exactly? It's retail?
Retail and distribution.
Right. So having to change business as a known entity, how has it affected your relationship with your customers?
Fortunately, the customers have been understanding because they're in the same boat. What we ran into was anything that if our supply chain was, and I know that was another question, but as the supply chain gets affected, some clients don't take well to that. and I don't want to name any of them, but there's certain of them where these are the people that are telling us to stay home because of the pandemic, are kind of the least understanding that it's taking longer to get the products to them because people are staying home. So for us, it's kind of like, yeah.
Thanks, Peter. And Stephanie, you're gonna answer as well. Have you had to change the way you do business?
Yes.
And what type of business are you in?
I own We the West Early Years Center, a licensed early childhood center in Bluefield Corner. We're always changing, which is very fortunate for us. But this one was a hard change. So being able to be accessible, adaptable, and authentic to not just the children, but our families and our community was at a whole different step of level. We need to maintain consistency because there's nothing worse than trying to communicate with the family, with the child, without consistency. It just doesn't work. Families tend to get angry and confused, and then I'm confused and trying to maintain professionalism at the same time. So yeah, it's definitely changing. We're growing with the children, we're growing in the community, and just trying to do the best that we can.
I won't lie. I know a lot of people out in the world. If you ask anybody which group, which sector people got hit the most with this pandemic, everybody's gonna go, oh, the restaurants. You deal with kids. I would not want to be in your position when there's a pandemic and people have dropped off their kids in your care, and you have to find a way to deal with that properly. So kudos to you. I don't think anybody else, most of us who do small businesses, retail or products or things that, you're dealing with young lives. So I can't imagine having to transition through that. So we'll get to meet you some more.
Thank you.
So at Community Inclusions, we work with adults with intellectual disabilities in residential day programs, employment, things like that. And we also operate a social enterprise in Larry, the Maple Bakery Cafe. So it affected us on a couple of fronts. Some of it to Katie, as far as in the beginning, we shut down our day services. We were ordered by CPHO to do that. But all our staff transitioned to helping our residential services because they stay open regardless. So none of our staff really, apart from the early stages, but some of them are staying and working from home. Most people were still working and transitioning to, okay, we're not running a case to support our employment, but we have to support our residential staff. And I have two staff here today, Natalie Warren Plant and Johnny Chidlett. And, that team approach, I think everybody would say that in this room, that was very important to rely on each other. The social enterprise, when we realized in the beginning that we just didn't feel, because everybody was, with this pandemic, you go into a grocery store in a neighborhood, but no, you see them and you're going down the other aisle. It's really weird, right? You're sanitizing your pot, one of the things. Anyway, we shut down because we just didn't feel we could do it safely. And we tried takeout a little bit and don't have a drive-through window, and it didn't go that well. So yeah, it did in the beginning changed in a couple of ways.
Perfect. Thanks, Kev. I'm gonna leave the mic with you there for a second. So you started getting into a little bit. A lot of these questions are gonna flow because this is how this whole thing happened to us. Did you have to change? How did you change? That kind of stuff. So Kev. Oh yeah, sorry, Dennis.
Here still.
Just a quick intro of your business, and did you have to change how you were doing business?
So let me talk from 2 points of view. First of all, from the church's point of view, obviously when the pandemic started, we had to go completely online, which was an adventure in itself. We had been previously online, but just that shift was fairly major. Obviously, when you're used to having people in the building and then all of a sudden you can't have anybody or very few people, that was a major shift. And but what has happened just as a result of that shift is now we have people who participate and join in online as well as in person. So it's almost like there is two congregations or two groups of people that are part of our church family. So that makes it a whole different dynamic as far as you know, how do you serve? How do you care for those? I'll put it as customers or people that are part of the community. You know, when some of them you may have never met or you may have never even connected with, but now they're a regular part of what we do as a church family. Our business, we kind of started just before the pandemic happened, so we've kind of grown in the midst of it. And what's been interesting, the first thing we did as a business was the West Isle Craft Fair, and but that has not happened since that point. So we've had, we thought our model would be to be going to craft fairs and stuff like that. And Teresa's been going down to Charlottetown and in the Main Street Craft Fair, and that's been fairly successful for us. And we've opened up a little store here in Devar, but it's trying to find your way. Okay, where do you sell your products? And we've kind of shifted, in my mind, I've shifted more toward selling in stores. We just opened in Charlottetown Mall yesterday. And so we're doing more, moving more toward, I guess, wholesale, just as a result of not being able to do craft fairs and things like that. So that's been the shifts for us, and it certainly has been interesting.
Thanks for that perspective, Dennis. Yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to try to get out of our panelists, because we are transitioning for stability and success. These guys started with a model in mind and had to transition quickly on the fly to actually adapt to businesses. So it can be done. Sometimes when it's a novelty, you actually roll with it better. And sometimes when you've been established, you're kind of stuck and you're like, oh, I've been doing this for 10, 20 years. Do I want to change? Yes, change is inevitable. We're going to have to get with it. So yeah, so Ken, you started off saying, you know, have you had to change? And then my next question would, you know, logically be like, how can you describe some of the changes? And you started to describe some of that. So, you know, you were saying with your work that some of them couldn't get in and out. Can you give me a little bit more specific, like on the legal house side, like that part of it is kind of interesting for most people who have small businesses, because that's a day-to-day operation that a lot of us who have small businesses deal with. So that's a human contact business. That's, you know, that's something that every time they made adjustments or changes or recommendations, you would have had to find another alternative. Just give me a little brief rundown of how the past 18 months, how many steps.
Yeah, in the beginning, as I mentioned, everybody really, what are we up against, and safety and kind of adjusting personally and professionally to the new reality, right? And that was, you're kind of like a deer in the headlights to begin with. We were fortunate that because of community inclusions, we have a network of other NGOs across BPI that were in teleconference with our department, the Department of Social Programs and Housing, and the CPHO on occasion, because of what we do and the vulnerable population we do service with. That really helped us overall, those ongoing conversations and a direct line. So if a staff had a question or we had a question, we had a direct line to them during the day, weekends. That was really helpful.
So let me just cut you there, but a lot of this communication now that we were in the pandemic, did you have lots of Zoom meetings?
More just a teleconference on the phone, to be honest with you. Yeah. And we did have some Zoom.
I'm just putting that out there because that seems to be one of the things that we've all transitioned to. Yeah. Some of us like it, some of us don't. I think some of us are zoomed out. We don't want to zoom in.
Yeah. So for the Bakery and Cafe, being our social enterprise, being a training component for what we do, it can act as a nice incubator for for our clients coming to our service to learn new skills. And it goes from helping out back to preparing baked items, helping bake, packaging, washing dishes, to working out front and bussing tables and waiting on customers to a degree as far as taking items off the table. We have an individual that has been employed with us, one of our participants since the beginning of Maple House. The Bakery and Cafe when we transitioned there in 2016. So they do a lot there and it centers around that. So I guess you really had no choice because, you know, our mandate is, and our compass is people, and our people, Katie mentioned kids, but we look at that also intellectual disabilities, and they needed us in different capacities. So we had to respond to that. You had no choice after you kind of dust yourself off and get up and go, okay, how are we gonna do this? You know, we had to kind of move forward and take advantage of, we had to cut down our floor size, probably close to 50% because of social distancing and things like that. So we, just staying in touch with the powers to be on materials for that and what the protocol was, and plexiglass out front, and because again, our food is best served sitting down. It's not a great, I don't say it's not a great takeout. It is to a degree, but people want to come in and sit down. It's not like going through a drive-through and getting a donut.
Well, that's what I was trying to get at here is we have to find a way and we have to change. But one of the great things about small business in rural areas is the community, is that feeling that you get when you walk into your local, whatever it is, whether it's a sit-down restaurant or even your corner store. It's about the personal interaction. And what the pandemic did was basically put us out of that. So that's why we were trying to get the feel for how you got through that. So even at 50%, it would have been difficult, but you found solutions. And let's say, to how you described yours, it seems as though we've had to think about procedures and protocols. And all of us who do business, whether we like it or not, we are going to always have to encounter procedures and protocols. And sometimes it may be a pain, like the pandemic caused, but it might actually cause a logical shift in our minds that might result in better operations in the future. Stephanie, you with little kids, without going for too long, just give us a day-to-day, something that changed quickly while you were doing it. Oh, yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, sorry.
In the beginning, we were shut down from the middle of March right till the end of April, or May, sorry. When we opened back up, I was given a directive that said, this is the protocols you must follow, and I went from a licensed capacity of 56 to 15. I had to decide who was coming into the center and who got the space. We were given basically checklists, this, and this. If I had 4 that met the criteria at the end of the checklist, I drew from a hat. Literally exactly what we had to do. Other centers across the island that I had lots of conversation with, they were in the exact same boat. It was not only hard, but it was a realization that business isn't always easy, and kind of seeing the other side of things a little bit, where when you're doing it day by day and you're into it, you oftentimes forget to think of the other side, like the other side of the apple kind of thing. So after we got through that hump of things, then I started taking several children. So I went from 15 to 25, 25 to 30, to 32 and 5 up, depending on the directives that we were given. We had to screen families as soon as they walked in the building. At one point, they weren't even allowed in the building. And I have a full entryway where they're not even in our classrooms at all. I made it as safe as possible, but they weren't allowed in our building. Now they are slowly. They have to wear masks. Originally, they had to call when I got to the center. If they didn't have a phone, I had to go out to their vehicle. I had to screen them either over the phone or at their vehicle. They could take their families in, and I could only have 2 families in the building at a time, depending if they were in the same cohort. So we had 3 cohorts, upstairs, downstairs, in our infant room. They could not mix. Our upstairs and downstairs cohort could mix, but they could only mix 25% of the day. It doesn't exceed the amount of 56 in total. We exceeded it because we were at full capacity by this point. I was not allowed to take any new families in, so I have currently, actually I checked yesterday, 48 families waiting to get into the center. A lot of them are infants with our publicly funded pre-K, which is wonderful. I currently have 25 and 7 more just pre-K itself waiting to get in, but I'm at full capacity right now.
Okay, so that's another thing that we wanted to discuss. So we had the initial directives that seemed like a worst case scenario, went down to 15, and then you said 15? Okay.
And siblings had to stay together.
Right, so 15, and then we found ways to follow these procedures, be as safe as possible, prove that you can operate as safe as possible. And now you're at,
We're back to 56 capacity right now.
and you now have in waiting.
Oh, 48.
So potential for businesses to even project bigger after you've gone through changes.
Yeah.
And like you said, when you say it, you sound like it was a stress then,
Oh, well, still is.
and it still is. But,
Not gonna lie there.
but you're
We're
one,
getting through it. We're
but
getting through it.
that's it, that's it.
We're getting through
You're through it. You're through it. That's what we should be celebrating at Small Business Week. That's great. Here, obviously, as a, an operation that probably has contact with volume wise, not to put your two businesses in the shade, but volume wise, and across the island, customers, volume wise and variety. How many different changes do you think you went through?
Well, for us, there's a little bit of a background there. So the year that the pandemic hit, we were actually really struggling with cash flow. As the business was growing, I was kind of looking at some of the expenses and not to be detailed, but I got a invoice from Xerox and I saw the interest I was paying and I said, this is absolutely ridiculous. So I'm just gonna pay that off. Hindsight, a loan would have been much better. But I made a couple of choices like that and it ran us tight. And I found that by the time the pandemic really hit, we finally got caught up. But at the same time, the phone wasn't ringing because customers were scared. They weren't in their office. So I had already told two staff, I said, you know what, as of Friday, like you're done and I'll call you when I need you again. And then every Friday we get an email from our supplier or manufacturer saying, these are the purchase orders we have ready. We're shipping them on a tractor trailer. You'll get them Tuesday. So it's Friday afternoon and we're like, okay, we haven't seen an email yet. So we picked up the phone, we called, we said, what orders are you sending so we can kind of plan the week? And the guy's like, here, we have nothing ready. So we were a crew of guys sitting there and I was like, don't come in Monday, like that's it. You know, I don't know what's gonna happen. So I went in by myself and I'll give credit to one of my staff from Charlottetown. He shows up Monday morning. What are you doing? You're not doing this alone. He said, I'm gonna help you. And didn't ask for a penny. He said, I'm on DI. I'm here to help. Don't worry about it. Pay my gas, I guess. But so by that point, then customers were like, okay, well, I need this or I need this. And they started doing maybe like just pick up at the curb or touchless drop offs, whatever we needed to do. We did. So we finally started to get to a point where we could call staff again, but then there was daycares that couldn't take them. So they were like, okay, well, I can't go in yet. So they wanted to work, but they couldn't. So we tried to adapt to what staff needed. And we were also trying to listen at the same time of what customers were looking for. Like there was a huge shortage in sanitizer. And we were also to a point where we said, okay, finally, we're starting to get into a better position. I know some people are struggling worse than we are. Who can we help locally? So we found sanitizer. We bought it at Deep Roots Distillery in Charlottetown. And he was used to selling at the farmer's market. So when I called him and I said, how much do you want for sanitizer? $15. What if I buy 2 cases? Well, it's still $15. So that was his business model and we went and did it. And we literally paid $1.99 to drive to Charlottetown, but it wasn't right to charge people a premium really to do it, but people needed the product. Everybody needed sanitizer. So, you know, we adapted for our customers to what they needed. It wasn't about trying to get rich off of it. And then we want to get staff working in as quick as we could. So
That's got some really positive things that I find are not spoken about enough when we discuss the pandemic and small business in general. Wanting to work, availability to work. Your employee, kudos to him or her who came out even when there was practically no business going on. Finding local suppliers, solving issues. I think we were kind of stagnant and spoiled before the pandemic, and businesses in general got a jolt and some ingenuity. And you know how they say necessity is the mother of invention. Well, we've been inventing again. We've been finding solutions. We've been using our brains and we've been helping each other. And people don't celebrate that enough. at the end of this pandemic, I want to celebrate how much we've accomplished, because you've gone back to full capacity, taking care of our next generation. Kev has found a way to continue business, and Pierre had great employees and staff, and the ability to look forward to solve things that we didn't know how long they were going to last. Dennis, you were mentioning, especially with your church and being a new business as well, that you had to not necessarily change so much with your new business, but adapt. Can you, when you started your business, you said that you had in mind that you were kind of doing craft fairs. How much did you have to change quickly to find new avenues to sell your product?
Well, I was thinking as the other panelists were talking that, in a lot of ways, networking has been a huge thing. Just talking to other people who are in similar or identical businesses as to what is working for them and what is not. And the other thing that I was thinking about is communication, just with whether it's your constituency or whether it's your customer base, just kind of keeping in touch with them as far as the changes you're making and how that is affecting when they'll receive products or when they'll receive services. And even for us, like as a church, we were in constant communication with the government regarding how because it seemed like the restrictions were changing every couple days. And so how did that affect how we were going to do things and in an ongoing basis? And fortunately, we had some people who were really good at communicating and getting clarification. And so those two things were for us really important and still are really important. I think it's crucial as a business to communicate both with customers that you have and also hopefully new customers, just to say, here's what we're doing in the middle of this, and here's how we're kind of making things work. And so those are the two areas that I can really see are good lessons learned that kind of for the future as well.
Thanks, Dennis. That's great. That's a wonderful point. I think we've all grown up and we've all been used to getting the news and stuff. But I think recently our sensory organs have been bombarded with updates and news. And it's good that Dennis pointed out that we're getting the information about the pandemic, but as businesses, we've also had to be able to communicate effectively and in a way that encourages and not discourage. So that's another learning tool and another fantastic way that we've learned to transition as businesses is getting negative communication and being able to put out a positive message to soothe and encourage your customers. It's a fantastic skill, and one that I appreciate coming from the marketing background, where you take the dirty old coin and you turn it into a beautiful piece of copper. Yeah, this is how we do it, and I appreciate that. Next question quickly. This one we're just gonna kind of get a quick yes or no, and because we might get into some more of the details after. Do you see a benefit to adopting some of the new practices that we've had? Do you see a benefit to now adopting some of these long-term? I know it's been forced upon us, but let's say, like I said, some of the procedures and stuff like that. Do you see a benefit for your business long-term?
Yes and no. Yes, because if the new policies with drop off and pick up and things like that, it maintains a level of consistency for us. Instead of families dropping off at 10 and picking up at 2, where is that consistency for the child that we're constantly trying to advocate for the child? And no, signing children in and wasting all that extra time is driving me nuts.
Very nice. Thanks.
I think you raised a point earlier when challenges come up, forces you to think a little differently, in a different way. You have no other choice. You have to push forward, and whether it's at our bakery or in our cafe or with community inclusions in general, I think we've had an emergency measures plan of operations or a business continuity plan has been put together for quite a while now. It's been a draft for about 3 years, but we're essentially using it all the time. This really hit home. We had a came from government recently with kind of a business continuity plan do you have? And it was basically done. I remember talking to Joni in the office and making sure we had the updated copy, and we worked with emergency management on PEI through that. So, because you don't know down the road what's going to happen, you know, it could be, and pandemic was part of this plan. It was there. It could be a bad storm, it could be fire, it could be pandemic, it could be whatever, you know. So we've had that in place for quite a while. Staff have had input on that. Kind of through the pandemic, we weren't getting together as much as our safety committee and zeroing in on it, but I can see us getting back to it. And as we get through this pandemic, kind of what have we learned, and you know, and what can we apply going forward? You know, you have no other choice.
Thanks, good. Dennis, you've kind of gotten to the point where you're not really adopting new policies. Your business started and you kind of had to accept whatever policies are in there. But having accepted some of them as a new business, do you see it fitting into your business model in the future?
Well, I was thinking on a humorous note that with the pandemic, people realized how important soap was. So that's a
Must
good
have been
thing.
good for you.
You know, good, healthy soap is really good for you. So, you know, that's one of the things. There are positives in the midst of the negatives, I guess. You kind of got to work with that, and yeah, some of the things we adjust to and adapt to. Some you probably don't like, and others you just kind of work with, as someone else said. So that's my conclusion.
That's good. For now, I'm just gonna throw it out to the audience, just so you guys don't have to listen to me ask all the questions all the time. Anybody out there with a question for the panel? Alan?
Well, this is an unsolicited advertisement for Maple House. Because of all the wonderful places you can have breakfast or lunch in West Prince, they are right at the top. Now, having said that, I was in there on Saturday, and they have a person at the door checking for your Vax Pass and your photo ID and so on. There weren't enough customers, so I urge you to get out and support these local eating establishments. Because we were, at one point, I think 5 people in the restaurant. And that lady had to stay by the door the whole time. So
Just a note
it's
on
a cost.
Yeah, just a note on that too. When we had heard that with the Vax passes coming in, and you're one of those businesses that were non-essential, that you had to ask at the door. And in a teleconference with other organizations, where it was mentioned, you can apply for funding for staffing for that. Because at the time, I was thinking it's not that it's not known. We're having a difficult time finding staff. A lot of industries are right now. That's probably our biggest challenge. So we hired somebody, or we're calling with the province, Minister of Employment Development, stuff like that. And he said, I have somebody. And it's the process of interviewing, meeting with her, and it just happened that she was also enrolled in the Human Services Program coming in January to Alberta. So it's a great fit for us. And I agree. I think we hired her on. We knew, especially in the beginning, maybe there's going to be busier times where she's going to be quite busy, but we're also going to cross-train her for different areas in the cafe, and maybe even have her help a little bit out back as well because of her background. I agree. You know, it's prior to the pandemic, you know, we were open 5 days a week, and we opened an hour early in the morning at 7 instead of 8, and then we open weekends. And in March of 2020 or February, we're going to be going into what we thought would be our busiest summer since we opened 2016. And like everybody else, it was a shock, and we had to close for 2 days, Sundays and Mondays, and it has affected our consistency of stuff. People are disappointed. There's not a lot of places to eat in Sundays in Larry, they come in and sit down, right? So we're working hard to open up and to get our customer base back. We want to do that and just hang in because you're feeling, man, how much longer can we do this?
Yeah, I think that's the major question right now is everybody's like, how much longer? But to Alan's point, and I'm glad you brought it up, is instead of all of us just going how much longer, we can do like the businesses are doing what they have to do, hiring people to check the vax passes. We can get ours and we can support them still. There's always a way. We're gonna find a way, we're gonna transition, we're gonna strengthen, and we're gonna have success. Any other questions out from the panel? While I'm walking around for quick, oh, here we go. Perfect, Carol.
Thank you. Thanks for answering all these questions. Really interesting to hear from different business perspectives. Do you find that operating in such a rural area has been a detriment, or has it helped as we're kind of working through the pandemic?
Thanks, Carol. And Dennis, you can feel free to jump in if you want to answer any of those questions as well.
For us, I definitely think it helps. Community is everything. It takes the whole community to raise a child. It takes the whole community to run a business. It takes each and individual's stakeholders to support one another. I'm very fortunate that our community is fantastic and continue to promote and lift in an authentic way, even through this entire struggle where we've had breakdowns and we've had happy cries, and we've definitely had moments where it's how are we going to get through it, and then we get through it, and then we celebrate, and then we continue, like I said, transitions and success. But it truly takes the whole community I can probably speak for everybody that it takes the whole community to do what we're doing and continue to do it well and support each other.
Dennis, as a newish business coming on in a rural community, so you already knew your market was, based in a rural area. Do you find that doing business in this rural area has helped or hindered so far?
I think that's a big question, actually, and let me go back to our experience working in Mississauga and Toronto. We went through two downturns in the economy when we had to fairly radically change our business model. And in the city, you don't have support around you when you're doing that. And I think here in a smaller community, the wonderful thing about that is that whether you're starting something new or whether you're working with an existing business, you do have the support of a community around you. So that is a huge advantage. I guess the disadvantage is that there's not that many people. And so your customer base is limited. Like for our soap business, people buy soap probably every 2 or 3 months. So you need a fair amount of customers to actually make a viable business. So I see both, but the support from the local community, that's huge. I think that's, you just wouldn't, I don't know, most small businesses here just wouldn't exist without that support. And so I'm encouraged by that. I think that's the way it should be. That connection between people I think it's massive.
Thanks, Dennis. Yep. Got Dr. Herb Dickinson.
Thanks very much. This question would affect more the materials delivery business than the human services. So for Pierre and the Reverend, when you drive through West Prince, the delivery trucks are swarming up and down the roads with calls from Amazon, and where materials and goods are being brought in. That's got to have an impact on your business. I would think if you're in the business of selling products, could you comment on that impact?
Absolutely. I see my neighborhood too. We see the trucks coming in back and forth, and I mean, he did set up a great business model and it works and people use it, but at the same time, when the pandemic happened, you're always thinking, what can you do for local and small businesses? Once I had all the staff back, we had a staff meeting and I was talking to about business. I said, now, on the deal of you guys online ordering stuff, I said, every day I've seen packages show up at work here for your Christmas shopping or whatever. And I said, it's kind of pissing me off. Because I said, you can buy these products down the road and these guys are struggling. And I said, I can't force you where you're gonna buy your stuff, but I can tell you, I don't want it on my door. I said, they're coming here after 4 o'clock. These businesses could be walking home and they pass by and they see Amazon boxes here. I said, for God's sakes, ship them to your house. I said, he's doubled his wealth over this pandemic, and that's at the cost of small business. We gotta think about that. This is where your paycheck comes from. And you gotta think of that when you're shopping.
Agree, Dennis? Yeah, Dennis.
Yeah, like, we gotta get the shipping costs down, like for us. I don't know how you do that, but, we would love to be able to send stuff, like we have people that order from all over Canada. But the shipping cost is huge just to send a couple bars of soap and, I don't know, I'm thinking I should establish my own fleet of trucks or something.
Business idea.
If we could do that, I think a lot of island businesses would really benefit from just having lower shipping costs. Anyway, I don't have a solution to that. I'm just saying that's an issue with us.
Pastor, just a quick question.
Sure.
Is there anybody else in the room? I know Renee is here that ships products. Renee, you go over there? Renee, I'm just curious if anybody is taking advantage of our flagship program. So it is a freight and shipping service that we have, but are you using Canada Post or? So you're using?
Our website gives her.
Through Shopify, okay. Dennis, are you set up through Shopify?
Yeah, we are. Mostly we do through Canada Post. Yeah, it's still Canada Post through Shopify. So my wife kind of takes care of that, but I'm curious about what you said, Tammy. I don't think I know about that. So I will check that out.
Well, Renee said the flagship is actually more expensive than Shopify. So, but I can let you know more about that, but I'm just curious to see if she was using that or if she was using something different. So we'll look into that for you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kev. Did you want to add anything?
No, just to echo what's been set up here as far as, buying local. I think, you can't put the toothpaste back in the container, like with online shopping and stuff like that. But we can certainly do things to mediate it and do our best to support local. In our communities, in our county, PEI wide. It's an ecosystem. It really is.
Yeah, it sure is. We should just continue to love local, right? It's a great campaign.
And it has to be ongoing, and programs and promotions that have been happening. I think that we're kind of born out of this, right?
Yeah.
Saw a lot of that.
Yeah, and that's another thing. It ties into the previous questions about us being in a rural area. I think we would always have each other's backs out here. The Westbridge Chamber and all these breakfast meetings and stuff that we have. We noticed that, and in the pandemic, it's kind of amplified how much we think about it, and the fact that Pierre mentioned to even his employees, hey guys, come on. So I do think that we encourage it. The Love Local PEI program is obviously benefiting, piggybacking on the need and the feeling that we have during the pandemic to help one another, and hopefully it continues beyond that. We raised a good point there between the shipping and doing business and stuff like this. So during the pandemic, a lot of businesses had to transition to a more digital or online presence. Pierre, maybe you can start us off with, have you adopted more of a online presence and for your business, and how did that go, and do you see it being a bigger part of your business in the future?
We've been trying to push for it. I still find some customers that don't maybe like to use it so much, but it's convenient for us. Like as a business owner, when the orders come in online, rather they just send an email to our front desk and say, hey, can you ship me this? It's nice to have a paper trail, so there's no argument of, well, I told you I want this, but you sent me this. No, this is what you ordered. And then it's a thing of, we can get it when we have time. If people are tied up or whatever, answer the phone, not that's a problem, but it's just nice and convenient to use it. I wish more people would. Touching back on the delivery, one thing that we did do is, I had one staff come back, he was recovering from having cancer, and he's okay now, but when he came back, we said, okay, well, he loves to drive and he loves people. So we said, well, rather than hiring a delivery company, we get our car going out, it's clean, and that's his job. He just delivers all across PEI. It's a free service that we offer. And then one reason that we were tight cash wise too was I had bought a cube truck for a delivery. So anyways, it's a service that we have, but we adapt his roles as well to do that. I felt better sending Roger out to deliver products because I know he wears his mask, he sanitizes his hands, as opposed to a third party.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I mean, I came here and I was trying to find a way to find a positive vibe coming out of this. But I'm glad we have our panelists, because I'm sure each and every one of us has had to find a way. And finding a way might have started with it's a problem, but now it's probably something that you can really hold your head up to, that is success. And that's why we get into business. We get into business because we find need and we solve that need. And all the pandemic did was give us something bigger for us to solve. Dennis, how's like you said, you ship to across Canada, is it? You ship to across Canada. So a new business, relatively unique, crafty product, and you're already on in the digital world. How much of that do you see for your business going forward?
Well, I think it's an area that will increase. The two areas that I think will increase for our business is the wholesale and where stores carry our soap, and the digital. My wife has worked really hard on that and still continues to work hard on doing a good online platform so that it's easy for people to order. And obviously, if I could get somehow people to be able to smell the soap online, we would sell tons of it.
Hey, there's an idea for technology, eh?
Yeah.
See it and smell it.
Yeah, going forward, online and wholesale are probably the two areas we'll concentrate on, and continue to serve the great customers we have here in West Prince as well.
That's fantastic, and it's good to know that you guys are expanding and exploring those avenues. I remember that you just said that, and it just took me back to when we were growing up, and I don't want to date all of us in the room, but the magazines came out, you could scratch and sniff the latest perfume. Hopefully one day maybe we can have an online thing where you can scratch and sniff the soap and see how it's going there. I'll just throw up another question here that I think I want to get from our panel here. Did any of your businesses have to take advantage of the government programs or assistance during the pandemic? And if you did, has it been helpful in any way?
Yes, we did. My account takes care of a lot of this stuff for me. I just make sure I have all the work for her to do it. But in a nutshell, we would have stayed without government funding. I would not be viable here today without them. With the extra support with their EYC funding and things like that, they just kept it going. It was delayed by like numerous quarters, and I made it work, but without that we wouldn't be. Like Kevin mentioned too, the funding for the extra support, we have been getting that continuously as well. But as our numbers jump, the directives jump, I end up needing to take that body like you did and delegate to teach that body the ropes of the rest of the center. And then the government also, I was very fortunate, the government also put 10 of my employees through Holland College to get their level 1 certification. So I basically just
kept at them, fought through it, and now we have 10 more certified in the Department of Early Learning and Lifelong Culture. So we just kept pushing, and I wasn't giving up, and I did their courses and went through there. But I don't think without the pandemic, I don't think any of that probably would have happened. It probably just would have kept on the back burner. But because the need of us now being considered essential,
Yes.
first we were not considered essential, that's why we were shut down at first, is the biggest turnover of why that happened and why it's important that we have qualified, educated, high-quality early learning childcare educators.
Thanks. Anybody else? Dennis?
Yeah, I think in the church, like our church organization, it benefited from the wage subsidy. And I think that's for a lot of churches and nonprofits, that was huge because obviously with no one in the building, how do you know, most of our support comes through tithes and offerings. And how do you survive? How do you keep the doors open? We are not, like, that has gradually decreased. And so we're, I'm going to say, self-funding at this point as a nonprofit organization. So that was, can I use this in terms of the government? That was a blessing.
Yes.
So
Thanks, Dennis. Yeah, and we put that question in there. I was contemplative about putting that question in there because I'm not doing it to delve into your personal business or your business. But what it is if we are transitioning for stability and success, we need to know all the steps that allow us to get to where we are. So we had the good points, we had the bad points, we had our ingenuity, we had our great ideas, what helped to keep us afloat, and a lot of us did get assistance from that. And if you did, that's great. And like Dennis said, it's even better if it's slowly weaning off now and we are back on our own 2 feet and our businesses are being stable on their own once again. Anybody else out there with any questions for our panel? Anything else anybody wants to know? All right, I'll throw another one in here then. This is one, obviously, Pierre might be most affected. Actually, Captain, was your business affected by supply chain issues?
Yes.
And just I know you're actually in office. So you've actually probably had a waterfall effect of where your supply issues then hindered your customers. So if you want to just walk me through that process.
Yeah. Before the pandemic hit, I was fortunate. I went up to visit our manufacturer supplier in Toronto, and you know, we had success with them. So I got to have lunch with the owner, and while we were sitting at the table, he said, "Something's coming. This is like, you know, late January." He said, "Yeah." He says, "Typically, there's certain things that we import from China, like wheels from chairs and things like that." So he says, "We always keep stock of like 3 months or something like that in our warehouses." And he said, "I reached out to all the factory managers and I said, double up on your stock because something's gonna hit." You know, that was going back a year and a half. So we're actually seeing the effects now that he ran out of the extra stock that he had. So where lead times used to be 4 weeks on certain products, we're seeing 11 or 12 weeks, which, you know, it's a challenge with customers. So we try to find, you know, maybe instead of you buying this, maybe you buy this one because you'll have this in 2 weeks as opposed to the longer wait. But I mean, we've seen cartridges and things like that that have just been slow. It's hit or miss, like I said, some of those.
Well, I guess a lot of people, if you were in the market for a new-ish or a new car recently, you've all now heard about the chip problem. I think everybody now knows that the world is running low on chips. So wonderful that we depend so much on technology. That you can't get your new car because they can't supply chain your chips. Any issues with supply chain there, Kevin?
I heard time, I'm getting crackers for our soups. Like the little packages of crackers to soup.
Yeah, those go stale real fast.
That's right, for supplying. You know, the schools, with a couple of schools, with their lunch programs or one, I guess. So that was difficult, you know, trying to find that suppliers, and we have 2 main suppliers.
Thanks, Kev, remind me at home, thanks.
Yeah. You deal with. Sometimes it's a matter of just, explaining to your customer that you don't have a certain item, you're obviously trying to, like Pierre said, trying to plan ahead. Or changing your menu around a bit. I think that's one thing that we're gonna probably be doing going forward, is just operating 2 days a week and really looking at our bottom line is maybe having a leaner menu, focusing on our staples, not trying to have so many things on our menu. I just want to mention a few things on the program. We did access some programs with some wage subsidy to a degree. We weren't shut down that long. So some of those programs, we were basically shut down with our Big Green Cafe for like April and or March, April, and we were opening into May. So we did access some of those programs. Innovation PEI, they got the business adaptability program. I'll give them a plug. We got the circles on the floor and the plexiglass, and I'll say this about PEI and West Prince. It's a great place to live because when the times get tough, you just see it through fundraisers, or if there's a difficulty in the community or what have you, people work together. There's no place like it. They work together and support each other to get things done. It's a great place to be from, great customers.
No arguments, absolutely not. Dennis, I know you're doing, your ingredients and stuff are natural ingredients for your soap. So you may or may not have had supply chain issues, depending on where you get your stuff from for your soap. Just
Yeah, we
quickly
did.
mention.
Yeah, we did at the beginning, especially like what we use in soap, especially the essential oils, are cosmetic grade. And so we bring those in from Ontario because there's no local suppliers for that. And so because they were shut down and had so few employees, it took a lot longer for supplies to come. And so we would just have to anticipate, the length of time, like the other folks. It's gotten better now. It seems like people have gone back on track, and the supplies are coming quickly. But we do order a few things from China. They used to come in a month, and now they come in probably 2 to 3 months. And so you just realize, so you kind of adapt to that, and you just understand that that's going to continue, I think, for a while. And so we're kind of learning to live with those supply chain. We don't have a huge thing, but just learning to live with those idiosyncrasies, I guess you could say.
Thanks, Dennis. So what we found out, luckily today, with our esteemed panel, and once again, thank you all for being here, Kevin, Katie, here, and Dennis. Most of us would have had similar experiences. It's just great to hear from them how similar and how they've solved some issues and how most of us can adapt like that.
One question for Pierre. I have one question for Pierre. I'm just wondering, with how the workforce changed to working from home rather than in some of the office buildings, if that affected your business.
Good question. That is a good question. It has. We were selling like printers and things like that, because what would happen is if you had somebody that was in accounting working at an office, then they had to work from home. So then they were starting to set themselves up to be able to work from home. So, it helped that way. All in all, our office supply sales, I'll say, probably are flatlined over last year, which is good because a lot of our customers are at reduced capacity. So we were able to at least maintain what we did. We didn't really go down. We were fortunate that the federal government, when they all went to work from home, they buy their products directly through the manufacturer, but we get paid a commission to do the deliveries and setup. So we've set up 200 or so stations at people's houses of electric tables, which is great because it gave our guys work, but it's also scares me because I think of these buildings that are in Charlottetown are now empty, and they're not going to the little restaurants down the streets and things like that. Like, you always think there's two sides to every story, and you're thinking, well, it's great that we got this job, but I feel for all those people that don't have that traffic now.
yeah, that's opening up another can of worms. And those developers in big cities are gonna have to figure out their own transitioning for strength and stability. We're small businesses in rural areas, and we've kind of sorted our solutions out as best as we can. Just want to say thanks again for you guys, for your answers and your experience. Thanks, Dennis. And to the audience, I'm sure, like I said, most of us have been going through similar situations, finding similar problems, but hopefully also coming up with similar or even better solutions. And I just want to wish all of us continued success as we transition, because like we see, it's a pandemic that didn't just last for 2 years, but seems to have long-reaching effects. And for good or bad, we are always going to have to find the solutions. That's why we choose to be the brave business people that we are. And we'll find the positive solutions and come out of this even better. Thanks, everyone.
Great job, Kester. Thank you very much. You guys are welcome to take a seat if you like. We'll just wrap up. And again, I'd like to thank our panelists for coming out today. And thank you, Dennis. We have some door prizes we'd like to give out. And I forgot the door prize tickets. So I have everybody numbered on the registration. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yep. And so maybe what we'll do is we'll get somebody, Renee, would you mind calling out some numbers, and then Kester will check the list. If you haven't seen the list, you call some numbers out, and as your number is called out, or your name is called out, you can just come up and pick up a door prize. And we do have a lovely door prize from Dennis from the By the Sea Soap Shop, and innovation and other door prizes from local businesses. So, all right, Renee, go ahead. Up to 40,
46.
46.
19.
Joffrey Irving.
Joffrey? All right. 6.
Catherine Olivia.
Who is it?
Catherine Olivia.
Catherine Oliver, is she here?
You just pick.
Yep, just pick one. You get first choice if you're coming up. I'll just move my phone, don't take my phone, please. Oh, and there's one on the floor here too. All right, Renee, you want to keep going? 42.
42, Sabina Panama.
Sabina, come on down.
21.
21. Just anyone there, Sabina? Yep, help yourself.
37.
You're welcome.
37 would be Emerson.
Oh, he left.
Oh,
Snooze, you lose.
let's go. Give me another number.
31.
31. Norma Jean Griffin.
Norma. 10.
Number 10. Connie didn't come up this morning, so let's just
Okay, no,
go.
keep going.
Give me another.
15.
15.
Kevin Porter.
Come on down. 40.
David Gamble.
David.
What's that?
Whatever you like.
Whatever you like.
2.
2.
Oh, no, that would be me.
Can't do 1 or 2, that's me, Kester.
4.
4.
Sharon Horn.
Sharon. 27. Nicole DeLauder. Come on up, Nicole. You running out of numbers?
29.
29. Okay, June Ellis. Keep going.
13.
One representative from Community Inclusions, please.
Be registered by name. 33.
Alan Parker,
Alan's left. You want to grab a
come
Colin?
on now.
Come on, Colin. Grab him the big scary bag.
39.
It's 39. Yep.
Shane McDougal.
Shane. I think he wants one of those Westbridge Chamber laptop bags.
Oh,
yeah. Take whatever you want. He's seen the gloves. My husband's seen it. He goes, what are these? 44.
44, Dan McDonald. Dan the man.
Yeah, we're going through.
I'll take this.
There's 3 things left. 3 left.
20, Lisa Reed.
Lisa?
Yeah.
Thank you, Dennis. You can leave us if you like.
Thanks, Dennis.
And we do have it recorded today, if anyone didn't get a chance to listen.
2 more. Yeah. 7, Jordan McDonald.